Hey everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel Code and Create. I'm excited to have you here today because we have an exciting project lined up. We're going to build a news app using React. Whether you are new to React or an experienced developer, this project is designed to be both interesting and educational. Before we dive into the project, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon to get notified whenever we post new videos. If you have any questions or feedback, leave a comment down below. We love hearing from you. Before we dive into the coding, first I want to walk you through each feature and functionality of the project. The first feature we will implement is the header, which includes our app's logo. The header is a crucial part of the UI, providing branding and a consistent look across the application. The logo styled with custom CSS will give our app a professional appearance, making it recognizable and memorable. Next, we have the navigation bar, which contains links to various news categories such as general, world, business, technology, entertainment, sports, science, health, and nation. Each category link is interactive, allowing users to filter news articles based on their interests. When a user clicks on a category, the app dynamically fetches news articles related to that category using the GNews API, ensuring that the content is always relevant and up to date. Fetching news articles from an external API is one of the core features of our application. We will use Axios, a popular library for making HTTP requests, to interact with the GNews API. The fetched articles will be stored in the state of our React components, enabling us to easily manage and update the data displayed to users. We will ensure that each article has an image, falling back to a default image if none is provided, to maintain a consistent and visually appealing layout. The headline section shows the top news article for the selected category. This section is designed to grab the user's attention with a large image and a prominent title. By clicking on the headline, users can open a detailed view of the article in a Modal Box, providing more information and a seamless reading experience. Below the headline, we will have the news grid, which displays a selection of other news articles in a grid format. This layout ensures that users can quickly browse through multiple articles at a glance. Each news grid item includes an image and title, and clicking on an item opens the detailed view in the model, like we had in case of the headline. The grid layout is responsive, adjusting to different screen sizes to provide an optimal viewing experience on both desktop and mobile devices. The model component is used to display detailed information about a selected news article. When a user clicks on a headline or a news grid item, the model opens with a larger image, full title, source, publication date, content, and a link to read the full article. The model enhances user interaction by providing an immersive reading experience without navigating away from the main page. Before we jump into the code, I want to let you know that this is a minimized version of a project from my brand new Udemy course, Master React Build Real-World React Project from Scratch. If you enjoyed this mini project and want to dive deeper into building a full-fledged news and blogs app, make sure to check out the course. In the course, we explore React in depth and build a robust application that covers all the essential features. Let's look at the features and functionality of that project from the course. It consists of two main parts, news section and blog section. We already talked about the news section. It is quite similar to what we are going to build in this project. However, we have here two additional features, the search functionality and bookmarking feature. Users can search for specific news articles using the search bar at the top of the page. This functionality allows users to quickly find articles that match their interests or current events they are following. For example, if a user is interested in the latest developments in technology, they can simply type technology into the search bar and view all relevant articles. This feature is particularly useful for users who have specific news topics in mind and want to find information quickly. Users can bookmark their favorite articles by clicking on the bookmark icon. This feature enables users to save articles they find interesting or wish to read later. The bookmarked articles are stored in the local storage of the browser. making them easily accessible even after the user refreshes the page or closes and reopens the browser. The blog section of our application is a flexible feature that allows users to create, edit, and delete their own blog posts. Creating a blog post is a straightforward and user-friendly process. Users can start by clicking on the Create New Post button. This action opens a form where users can input the title, content, and an optional image for their blog post. The form includes input fields for the blog title and content with character limits to ensure that the posts are concise and readable. Users can also upload an image to accompany their post. Once the user fills out the form and submits it, the new blog post is added to the existing list of blogs, and this updated list is stored in the local storage. This ensures that the blog posts are saved even when the user refreshes the page or closes and reopens the browser. Each blog post displayed in the blog section includes an edit icon. When a user clicks on this icon, the form used to create a new blog post is populated with the existing data from the selected post. The form allows users to make any necessary changes to their post. Deleting a blog post is a straightforward process that involves clicking the delete icon on the desired post. Next, we have the weather widget. It is an integral part of our application, providing users with real-time weather updates for specified locations. This feature enhances the application's utility by allowing users to access current weather information directly within the app. The weather widget fetches weather data from the Open Weather Map API. By default, the widget displays the weather for a predetermined location, ensuring that users are presented with relevant information as soon as they access the application. This default location is set to Tbilisi, which is a capital city of Georgia, but users can easily change it to any location of their choice. The weather data fetched from the API includes several key elements: the current temperature in the specified location presented in degrees Celsius, a brief description of the current weather condition, for example, clear, clouds, rain, and so on, and an icon that visually represents the current weather condition. One of the standout features of the weather widget is its ability to accept user input for different locations. Users can enter any location in the input field to retrieve the current weather for that specific place. The calendar component is the next part of our application, providing users with a clear and interactive way to view dates. The calendar component displays the current month and year at the top. Below this, the calendar shows all the days of the current month in a grid format. The current day is visually highlighted to make it stand out. The calendar component includes navigation features that allow users to move between months. Alright, so that's it about the comprehensive version of the application. So again, if you enjoy the mini project that we're going to build in this tutorial and want to dive deeper into building a full-fledged news and blogs application, make sure to check out the course. I'm offering a special $10 discount link for my Udemy course, which will be available in the description below. This special discount will last only for 5 days, so grab it while you can. Additionally, there will be a $13 discount link that will be valid for 31 days. For those who might miss these offers, don't worry, I've also included a referral link that will always provide some great discounts. So check out the description for these amazing deals and take your React skills to the next level. Alright, so let's go ahead and dive into building our project. I'm in the mini version of the application. The first step is a project setup. A good setup can save you a lot of time and headaches down the road. It ensures that you have a solid structure to build upon and that you're using the right tools for the job. So let's get started with the very first step, installing Node.js. To work with modern JavaScript tools and frameworks, we need Node.js. Node.js is a runtime environment that allows you to run JavaScript code outside of a browser. It is built on Chrome's V8 JavaScript engine and is perfect for building fast and scalable network applications. For us, it is essential because it allows us to use npm Node Package Manager to manage our project dependencies. If you don't have Node.js installed yet, don't worry, the installation process is straightforward. Just go to the Node.js website, download the installer for your operating system and follow the instructions. There are a couple of different ways to create a React application. For a long time, the Create React app was the go-to method for setting up a new React project. It provided a quick and easy way to get started with React. But as the ecosystem evolved, it became somewhat outdated. That's why many developers, including myself, have transitioned to using Vite, which offers a much faster and more modern development experience. Now let's talk a little about Vite. Vite is a modern build tool that provides a fast and lean development experience for modern web projects. It is incredibly fast because it leverages native ES modules and tools like ES-Build for transpilation, making it perfect for a React project. Vite significantly improves the speed of your development workflow compared to traditional tools like Create React App. You can find more information and the official documentation on the Vite website. I highly recommend taking a quick look to get familiar yourself with its features and benefits. First, I have created a new folder on my desktop called News App. This folder is currently empty, and this is where we will be setting up our React application. To start, let's open this folder in Visual Studio Code. You can do the same by going to the top menu and selecting File, then Open Folder, and then navigating to your News App folder. In order to create a React application, we'll be using the terminal to set up our project, and for this I'll be using the terminal built into Visual Studio Code. VS Code is a powerful and popular code editor that makes it easy to manage and navigate your projects. To open the terminal in VS Code, you can simply press Ctrl plus backtick, or go to the top menu, View, and select Terminal. Alright, so once the terminal is open, now we have to run the following command to create a new Vite project with React. We need npm create Vite at latest. Then we need the name of the application. In our case, it's going to be News App, followed by 2 dashes. Then we need again 2 dashes, followed template, and finally React. Now let's go ahead and break down this command. npm create Vite latest tells npm to create a new project using the latest version of Vite. News App is the name of the project folder that will be created. Then we have template React. It specifies that we want to use the React template provided by Vite. After running this command, Vite will set up a new React project for us. Once the setup is complete, let's go ahead and navigate into the project directory using cd, followed by the name of the folder, News App. Next, we need to install the project dependencies. This is done by running npm install. Dependencies are the packages and libraries that our project needs to run. Installing them ensures that everything is set up correctly and we can start working on our application. Finally, we have to run our project in the browser. For that, we have to run the following command: npm run dev. It will generate a local URL. We can either copy this link and paste it into the browser tab, or we can simply press Alt and click the link. So as you can see, our React application is up and running in the browser. We have here some default icons of Vite and React, which include the links to the websites of these tools. Then we have here some textual elements, and also you can see here a counter that works once we click the button. So this is the default little project that is generated when you create and install the React application using Vite. I'm going to place the editor and the browser side by side, like so, to make our working process more convenient. Now that we have our project set up, let's take a look at the structure of the generated files and folders. First, we have here node modules. This folder contains all the dependencies and packages installed for our project. When we run npm install, it installs everything specified in the package.json file into this folder. It is crucial for the functioning of our app, but we typically don't need to interact with it directly. Then we have public folder. This folder is used for static assets that can be directly accessed by the browser. Here we can place images, fonts, and other assets that don't change frequently. Right now, this folder includes an SVG icon of the Vite. Next, we have an SRC folder. This is the main folder where we will be writing our application code. It contains the React components and application logic. Inside SRC, you will find Assets folder. An Assets folder includes an SVG icon of the React. Then you can find here app.css file. This file contains the CSS styles specific to the app component. While we might not use it, it's a good place to keep styles related to the main layout. Then we have app.jsx file. This file contains our main application component. It is a functional component where we will define the layout and structure of our application. Next we have the index.css file. It contains the global CSS styles for our application. These styles are applied across all components and pages. Next you can find here main.jsx file. This is the entry point for our React application. It initializes the React application and mounts it to the DOM. Typically it imports React DOM and our root component app.jsx and renders it. Besides that, you can find here index.html file. This file is crucial as it contains the root div elements where our React application will be mounted. It also includes metadata, links to style sheets, and other critical elements needed by the browser to render the application. Below you can find the configuration file for Vite. This file allows us to customize the build process and configure various settings for our development and production environments. Each of these folders and files has a specific role in the project. Understanding their purpose will help you navigate and organize your code more efficiently. Okay, next we will clean up some of the default files and folders that we don't need. This will help keep our project organized and focused. Here is what we will do. I'm going to delete the React and Vite SVG icons. The first one is placed in the Assets folder. As for the icon of the Vite, it is placed in the public folder. Next, I'm going to delete the app.css file from the SRC folder. Then let's open the index.html file in the public folder, delete the link to the fab icon, and change the title to News App. Now let's open the index.css file in the source folder and clear its contents. We'll be adding our custom styles later. Next, I'm going to open the app.jsx file in the source folder, delete the existing content, and then create a new React component using the RAFCE shortcut. Actually, this shortcut comes from the ES7 React Redux snippets extension, which helps us quickly generate React component templates. If you don't have this extension installed yet, I highly recommend adding it to your VS Code setup. So as you can see, a functional component is generated. It returns a single div element with the text up, and this text is rendered on the page. After that, in the SRC folder, I'm going to create a new folder called Components. This is where we will organize all our React components. Let's start by creating a new file inside this folder called news.jsx. Then in the app.jsx file, we will import our news.jsx components. So we need import news from components, and then we have to select news. In order to render these components, we have to nest it here. So right now the page is empty because the news.jsx file is empty. Let's go ahead and create a functional component using, again, RAFCE shortcut. Now, once I save the content of this component, then it will be rendered on the page. Alright, so this sets up the basic structure of our application. Finally, in the assets folder, I'm going to create another folder called images. Then let's copy all the images you need for the project into this images folder, and that's it. So we have successfully set up our React project using Vite, cleaned up unnecessary files, and organized our project structure. Before we begin to write the code, I want to note that while this is a React tutorial, we will also be writing some CSS to style our application. I understand that some of you might be more interested in focusing on React, and that's perfectly fine. If you prefer, you can skip the styling parts and use the provided CSS source code directly. However, I encourage you to at least follow along and watch the styling sections. You might find something interesting or useful in those parts as well. First, let's open up the JSX file. This file is the root component of our application, and we'll be adding a class to its main div element. So let's add here class name. Actually, in React we use class names, not classes, like it's in HTML. So the class name of the div element is going to be container. Next, let's define some global styles in our index.css file. Let's open it. I'm going to select every element using an asterisk. And first of all, I'm going to get rid of default margin and padding from every element. Let's set both properties to 0. Then I'm going to set box sizing to border box. It means that the width and height of the element will include the padding and the border. Also, I'm going to get rid of default outline. Let's set it to none. And then I'm going to set text decoration to none as well. So now I want to define the font family, and I'm going to add some custom fonts to our project to enhance its visual appeal. We'll use Google Fonts for this. So I'm going to go ahead and search for Google Fonts. Let's visit the website and search for a couple of different fonts. The first one is going to be Bebas Neue. Let's click Get Font. Then the second font is going to be Comforta. Let's click again, Get Font. And next we need third font, which is going to be Canet. Alright, so all three fonts are selected. Next we have to click Get Embed Code. Then click Import and grab this URL from here. I'm going to paste this URL at the beginning of this file. And now we can use those fonts in our application. So I'm going to define font family, and by default I'm going to set font for every element to Canet sans serif. As you can see, the font of the text is changed. Alright, so that's it about the styles for every element. Next, I'm going to define the font size of the HTML element. So throughout this project, I'm going to use rem as the measurement unit. By default, 1 rem is equal to 16 pixels because the font size of the root element is equal to 16 pixels. I want to convert 1 rem into 10 pixels, and therefore we have to decrease the font size of the root element, and we have to set it to 62.5%. So in this case, 1 rem will be equal to 10 pixels. So if I save this code, then the font size of this element will become smaller. Alright, so that's it about the HTML. Next, I'm going to select the container. And I'm going to define the width and height. The width is going to be 100%. As for the height, it's going to be 100 viewport height. It means that the height of the container will be 100% of the height of the viewport. Next, I'm going to change the background. And as the background, I'm going to use linear gradient function. It will create nice gradient effects. So first of all, I'm going to define the direction of the color transition. In our case, it's going to be to right. And then I'm going to define the colors. The first color will be B88EFC. As for the second color, I'm going to set it to 68. Then we need 77 and F4. So as you can see, we have here nice and cool background with gradient effects. Next, I'm going to place the content in the center of the page. For that, we can use a couple of different ways. I mean, we can use CSS Flexbox, we can use positions, and also we can use CSS Grid. In this case, I'm going to use CSS Grid. So let's set display to grid, and then we have to use place items with the value center. So in case of grid, we use just two properties, display and place items. If we used here the CSS flags box, then we would use display flags, justify content center, and align items center. Alright, so that's it about the container. Now we have to create the content of the news.jsx component, but before that I'm going to add one more link to our application. I mean, we have to connect Font Awesome library to our application. So let's go ahead and search for Font Awesome CDN.js. Then I'm going to grab the first link from here. Let's open index.html file, and here in the head element I'm going to open link tag, and then we have to paste the CDN here in the href attribute. So now the Font Awesome library is connected to our project. Alright, so as I said, we have to create the JSX content here inside the news component. So I'm going to get rid of this text from here. Then I'm going to add a class name to the div element. The class name is going to be news app. Then inside the div element I'm going to open another div with the class name news header. So the header will consist of h1 heading element, and it's going to be logo. Let's add here news app. So that's it about the header. Next we have news content. Inside the news content we will have two main parts, the navbar and news section. So let's open nav element with the class name navbar. Inside the navbar we will have h1 heading element, which is going to be nav heading. As the text I'm going to add here categories. Then after h1 heading element I'm going to open div element with the class name categories, and inside here I'm going to open link element with the class name nav link. So we have to add here a couple of different links, I mean the links for those categories. So let's quickly add here general. Then I'm going to duplicate this element a couple of times. Actually we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 links. So let's duplicate this line of code 8 times. And then quickly change the content. So the second one is going to be world. Then we will have business. Next I'm going to add here technology. Then we have entertainment. Then I'm going to add here sports, science, health, and nation. Alright, so all the links are created. Now we have to move on and start to work on the second part of the news content, which is going to be news section. So the news section will include headline and news grid. Let's open div element with the class name headline. In the headline we will have image and the heading element. So let's open image. Let's at first add the value to the alt attribute. It's going to be headline image. Then in order to render the image on the page, first of all we have to import the image from the images folder. So I'm going to import one of the images, let's say tag img. We need from, and then we have to specify the directory. First of all we need to exit the current folder. Then we have to access assets folder. Inside the assets folder we have images, and I'm going to select tag.jpg. So once the image is imported, then we have to open here curly braces, and we have to specify the name of the image, tag image. Once we save, then the image will be displayed on the page. So that's the way how you can render the images on the page. Actually, I'm going to import all other images from the images folder, Actually, I'm going to duplicate this line of code 6 times and then quickly change the names of the images. So the second one is going to be world image. We need here world. Then I'm going to add here sports image. The name of the image is going to be sports. Next we have science. Then the next one is going to be health. Next one is entertainment. And finally, we need here nation image. Let's change the name of the image. We need nation.jpg. Alright, so all the images are imported. Now let's go ahead and continue adding the JSX to the headline. So after image we need h2 heading element, and it's going to be headline title. As the content of the title, I'm going to use some dummy text using lorem ipsum. We need lorem, and the number of the words is going to be 10. So as you can see, the dummy lorem ipsum text is generated here. Alright, so after the headline, we have to create the second part of new section, and it's going to be news grid. Inside the news grid, I'm going to open news grid item, which will include the image and the heading. So we need here image elements. Let's add the alt attribute. We need news image. As for the source of the image, I'm going to use here world img. Alright, so after image we have to create h3 heading elements. It's going to be the title of the article. So in this case I'm going to add again lorem ipsum dummy text. Let's use 8 words. Alright, so that's it about the news grid item. Overall we will have 6 news grid items. So I'm going to duplicate this code 5 times and then quickly change the images. So we need here sports image, then the next one is going to be science image, then I'm going to use health image, also we have entertainment image, and then the last one is nation. Okay, so all different images and news grid items are displayed on the page. After that I'm going to create footer. So right after news content I'm going to open footer tag. Inside the footer we'll have paragraph for some copyright text. I'm going to add here span with the text news up. Then after this span element I'm going to open paragraph. Then in order to use the copyright sign I'm going to use HTML5 entity. It's going to be ampersand followed by copy and then the semicolon, and then I'm going to add here some text. All rights reserved. This is a standard text, all rights reserved, and then by code and create. Okay, so I think that's it about the JSX for this component. Next I'm going to customize those elements. So let's go ahead and create new file in the components folder. It's going to be news.css. Then I'm going to import this file here. So we need import, and we have to specify the file directory. So in our case we need news.css. I mean the name of the file because those two files, news.jsx and news.css, are placed in the same folder. Alright, so once the file is imported, let's open it and add here some styles. First of all, I'm going to make the images smaller, so let's go ahead and select headline image, and I'm going to set its width to 40 RAM. As for the images in the news grid items, we have to make them smaller as well, so we need here news grid item followed by the image element, and then we need width to be, let's say, 20 RAM. So as you can see, the images became smaller. Alright, so let's go ahead and start to style the developments wrapper, which is news app. So I'm going to select these elements. Let's define width. In this case, I'm going to use one of the functions called clamp. Let's at first insert the values, and then I will explain how this function works in CSS. So the first value is going to be 35 RAM, then we need 90 CQI, and then 100 RAM. So the clamp function in CSS allows you to set a value that falls within a specified range. It takes three parameters. They are separated by commas. The first parameter, 35 RAM, specifies the minimum width. If the viewport or parent element size is small, the width will not shrink below this value. The second parameter, 90 CQI, is a preferred width. This unit is a part of container query length units. If you hadn't heard of them until now, container queries are similar to media queries. However, instead of being based upon the size of the user's viewport, the styles can be changed according to the size of one of the element's parent containers. Now, in the same way that viewport height and viewport width are relative to the size of the viewport, container query units are relative to the size of the container. So CQI stands for container query inline. By default, it's equal to 1% of the container's inline size. In our case, it's 90%. The second value is used when the viewport or parent element size falls within the range specified by the minimum and maximum values. However, if the preferred size is greater than the maximum size specified by the third parameter, the width will be limited to the maximum size. The third parameter, 100 RAM, specifies the maximum width. If the viewport or parent element size is large, the font size will not grow beyond this value. Okay, so hopefully you understand how the clamp function works. Next, I'm going to define the height, which is going to be 90 viewport height. I'm in the 90% of the viewport. Next, I'm going to define the background color, and as the background color, I'm going to use 060709. So as you can see, the background of the news app is changed. After that, I'm going to use border radius with the value 1 RAM, and also let's align the content of the news app using CSS Flexbox. We need display flex. Then we have to change the direction because we have to align the content vertically in a column, so therefore we need flex direction to be column. Then I'm going to use align items with value space between. It will create some space between the flex items. And finally, we have to create gap using row gap. It's going to be 2 RAM. Alright, after that I'm going to take care of the header, the first part of our news app. So let's go ahead and select news header. Let's set width to 100%. Then we need to define the height. In this case, I'm going to use minimum height. Let's set it to 7 RAM. Also change the background color. I'm going to use color 111214. Next, I'm going to set border radius. So in case of the header, we need rounded corners at the top left and top right corners. So therefore the values will be 1 RAM, 1 RAM, then 0, and again 0. Okay, so the background color is changed and also the corners are rounded. Next, I'm going to use again Flexbox to align the content of the news header. So I'm going to use display flex and then I'm going to center the content vertically. Therefore, we need here align items, center. And finally, let's create some space inside the header using padding. I'm going to set it to 0 at the top and bottom sides, and then 2 rem on the left and right sides. Alright, so that's it about the wrapper div element, I mean the parent news header. Now I'm going to customize the logo. So let's go ahead and select logo. First of all, let's define font family. I'm going to use font called Bebas Newy. It's going to be sans serif. Then the font size will be 5 rem. Also, let's change the color, make it D. And finally, we need some space between the letters using letter spacing with the value 0.2 rem. Alright, so the header looks pretty nice. Next, we have to take care of the second part of the news app, which is news content. So after logo, I'm going to select news content. Let's use flexbox. We need display flex. Then I'm going to create gap using column gap. It's going to be 2 rem. Next, I'm going to define the height of the element. And in this case, I'm going to use a calc function which allows us to make some calculations. So in case of height, we need 100% minus 16 rem. So let me explain why we used here 16 rem. The height of the news app, I mean the header, is equal to 7 rem. Then we will have the footer, and its height is going to be 5 rem. So in total it is 12 rem, and also we have 2 gaps, each of them equal to 2 rem. So overall we have 16 rem, and that's why we used here this value. Next, I'm going to create padding. Let's set it to 0 at the top and bottom sides and 2 rem on the left and right sides. Okay, so as you can see, the content is aligned. Next, I'm going to take care of the navbar. Let's go ahead and select navbar. First of all, I'm going to define its width. It's going to be 20%. And actually, I'm going to define the width of the second part as well, which is news section. So let's select news section and set its width to 80%. Okay, let's go ahead and customize the navbar. We need here height, which is going to be 100%. Then I'm going to change the background color. Let's use here this color. Next, I'm going to align the content of the navbar using again flexbox. Let's set display to flex. Then we need to change the direction because we have to align elements vertically in a column. We need flex direction to be column. Then we need some gap using row gap. It's going to be 3 rem. Then I'm going to set border radius to 1 rem. And finally, I'm going to add some padding. Let's set padding to 2 rem on all 4 sides. Alright, so that's it about the navbar. Now we have to customize the categories. So let's go ahead and select categories. I'm going to use again CSS flexbox. Let's set display to flex. Then we need to change again the direction. It's going to be column. And finally, let's set row gap to 3 rem. So as you can see, the nav links are placed vertically in a column. Next, I'm going to customize the heading. So let's go ahead and select nav heading. Let's set font family to again Bebas Newy, sans serif. Then the font size is going to be 3 rem. Also, I'm going to change the color. Let's make it light gray. Then use letter spacing. It's going to be 0.2 rem. And finally, I'm going to create a little space at the bottom of the heading using margin bottom with value 2 rem. Okay, so the heading looks pretty nice. And now we have to customize the links. So let's go ahead and select nav link. First of all, I'm going to set font size to 1.5 rem. Then we need font weight to be lighter. Let's set it to 300. Also change the color, make it light gray. I'm going to make the text uppercase. using text transform, uppercase. Then I'm going to create space between letters. Let's set it to 0.1 rem. Okay, so I think that's it about the navigation links and the navbar. Everything looks pretty nice. Next, I'm going to take care of the news section, which consists of headline and the news articles. I mean 6 news articles. So let's go ahead and select headline. First of all, I'm going to set width to 100%. Then I'm going to set height to a calc function. So in this case, I'm going to make the following calculation. We need 45% minus 2 rem, which is the size of the gap. That's why I subtract 2 rem to 45%. Then I'm going to set border radius to 1 rem. And also let's create some space at the bottom using margin bottom with value 2 rem. Okay, after that I'm going to take care of the image. Right now the width of the image is equal to 40 rem, and I'm going to change it. So let's set width to 100%. Then the height is going to be 100% as well. I'm going to fit the image using object fit cover. Next, I'm going to make the corners of the image rounded using border radius. And finally, I'm going to decrease slightly the opacity. Let's set it to 0.4. Alright, so the image looks pretty nice. Next, I'm going to take care of the headline title. So let's go ahead and select headline title. So I'm going to set width to 100%. Then I'm going to change the position of the headline title. I'm going to set position to absolute. Then in order to position the element according to the parent element, which is headline, we need position relative for the headline. Now I'm going to set left property to 0, and also we have to define bottom position. It's going to be 0 as well. Alright, after that let's set padding to 1 rem at the top side. Then we need 4 rem on the right side, 1 rem at the bottom side, and 1 rem on the left side. After that I'm going to set font family to, again, Bebas New E sans serif. The font size is going to be 3 rem. Also I'm going to change the color, make it white. So the heading looks pretty nice. I'm going to add some more styles to it. Let's set letter spacing to 0.1 rem. Then I'm going to create a background for the title. Let's set background color to RGBA. We need black color, and the opacity is going to be 0.7. And finally, let's create border radius. So in case of the title, we need border radius at the bottom right and bottom left corners. Therefore, the values will be 0, 0, 1 rem, and again 1 rem. Okay, so that's it about the headline title. It looks pretty nice. And actually, with the headline, we're done. Next, we have to customize the news grid. So let's go ahead and select news grid. Let's define width. It's going to be 100%. As for the height, I'm going to make it 55%. Then the background color will be this one. Also, we need border radius to be 1 rem. Actually, we need here border radius, not the border. So here we have the background of the news grid. Next, I'm going to align the items, I mean the articles, using CSS grid. So we need to use display grid. Then we have to define the columns. So we need grid template columns. Overall, we will have 3 columns. Therefore, we need repeat function. Inside the repeat function, we have to pass 2 parameters. The first one will be the number of columns, 3. And then we need size, which is going to be 1 fractional unit. Let's duplicate this line of code. Define rows. We will have 2 rows with the same size, 1 fractional unit. Okay, so as you can see, the articles are aligned nicely. Next, I'm going to select News Grid Item. Let's set width and height to 100%. Then I'm going to define minimum height, and it's going to be 15 rem. Also, let's set border radius to 1 rem. Okay, after that, I'm going to customize the images. So right now, the width of the images is set to 20 rem, and I'm going to get rid of this value. We need 100%. Then we need height, it's going to be 100% as well. Again, we need to fit the image using object fit cover. Then let's set border radius to 1 rem, and also I'm going to decrease the opacity. Let's make it 0.5. Alright, so as you can see, we have to create some gap between the items. Therefore, we need here gap equal to 1 rem. Also, we need some space inside the news grid. Let's add here padding equal to 1.2 rem. And then I'm going to place the content in the center using justify items center and align items center. Alright, so that's it about the news grid and news grid item. I'm going to customize the heading element of the article. So let's go ahead and select news grid item followed by the H3 heading element. Let's set width to 100%. Then I'm going to set position to absolute. And again, we need position relative for the parent element, which is news grid item. So we need here position relative. Then the left position of the heading element is going to be 0. As for the bottom position, I'm going to set it to 0 as well. Next, I'm going to use padding. Let's set it to 1 rem at the top side, 3 rem on the right side, 1 rem at the bottom side, and 1 rem on the left side. Next, we need font family. Use again Paybus Niue sans serif. Then change the font size. It's going to be 1.6 rem. Also, I'm going to change the line height. Let's set it to 1.4 rem. Then I'm going to change the color. Let's make it white. And then, like the headline, we need to add the background to the articles, the titles. So let's set background color to RGBA. We need here black color with the opacity 0.7. And also we need border radius with the values 0, 0, then 1 rem, and again 1 rem. We need those values because we need border radius at the bottom right and bottom left corners. So we have here nice and cool background. Actually, I'm going to make the font slightly lighter, so let's set font weight to 300. Okay, so that's it about the news section. The headline and news grid, both elements are customized, they look pretty nice. And finally, we have to customize the footer. So let's go ahead and select footer. I'm going to set width to 100%. Then the minimum height of the footer is going to be 5 rem. Also, we need to use CSS Flexbox to align the content of the footer. We need display flags, then align item center in order to center the content vertically. As for the horizontal alignment, I'm going to justify content with the value space between. So I'm going to select the content to see what's going on here. Actually, those two paragraphs should be placed horizontally in a row. So let's check the news JSX components. So as you can see, we have paragraph nested inside the copyright paragraph. It's not what we need here. Let's grab the second paragraph and paste it right after this paragraph. So now the alignment is correct. I'm going to create some padding. Let's set padding to 0 and then 2 rem on the left and right sides. Also change the background color. Let's use this color here. And then we need border radius 0, 0, 1 rem, and again 1 rem. Alright, now I'm going to customize the paragraphs. So let's go ahead and select footer, P. We need font size to be 1.4 rem. Then we need font weight, it's going to be 300. And also change the color. Let's use here color BBB. And now I'm going to add some styles to the first paragraph. So let's go ahead and select copyright, followed by the span element. We need to change font family. It's going to be again Bibas Neue sans serif. And then I'm going to set the font size to 2 rem. Alright, so that's it. The entire application is styled and customized, and now we have to make it functional. We have to start to work on fetching real-time news data from the GNews API. I mean this API here. And we have to display the real-time data in our news application. This is an exciting step as we will be moving from hard-coded data to dynamic live data. Before we dive into fetching the news data, let's take a moment to understand the GNews API, which will be the backbone of our news fetching functionality. GNews API is a powerful, easy-to-use RESTful API that provides access to a vast array of news articles from various sources around the world. It allows developers to fetch news data in a structured format, making it ideal for integrating into applications like our news app. With GNews API, you can access the latest headlines, search for articles by keywords, and filter news by categories. Now let's talk about the key features of the GNews API. It provides the latest headlines. You can fetch the most recent news articles from various categories, such as general, world, business, technology, entertainment, sports, science, health, and nation. GNews API also provides filtering feature. You can filter news by language, location, and other parameters to tailor the results to your needs. And finally, it has a rich metadata. Each news article comes with detailed metadata, including the title, description, URL, image, and publication date, making it easy to display comprehensive news information in your application. GNews API works by exposing several endpoints that you can call using HTTP requests. For example, you can fetch the latest headlines from a specified category. You can search for news articles based on a query keyword, and so on. So here is the documentation on how it works and how we can use it, so I encourage you to look into it. Actually, GNews API is not completely free. You have 100 requests for free per day. Once you reach the limit, then you have to upgrade your plan. 100 requests might not be enough while building this project, so you can start the trial 10 days period and then cancel it. If you start your trial period, don't forget to cancel it after 10 days because you will be charged. Well, if you don't upgrade the plan and use just free 100 requests, please keep in mind that the application won't work once you exceed the limit. It will continue to work the next day after 24 hours. The first thing that you need to do is to register on that website. It is a simple process, so I'm not going to go through it. Okay, so before we start fetching news data from the GNews API, we need to understand the tool that we will use to make these HTTP requests. So I'm going to talk about Axios, a popular JavaScript library for making HTTP requests. Axios is a promise-based HTTP client for the browser and Node.js. It is designed to handle HTTP requests and responses in a clean and efficient manner. Axios provides a simple and powerful API for making HTTP requests, making it a favorite among developers for tasks such as fetching data from APIs. Now, let me talk about the key features of Axios. It uses promises which allow for cleaner and more manageable asynchronous code. This makes it easy to handle responses and errors. It automatically transforms JSON data, making it easy to work with JSON responses. Axios allows you to intercept requests or responses before they are handled by then or catch, which is useful for tasks such as adding authentication tokens. Axios simplifies error handling by providing detailed error messages and response data, and Axios provides labels for common HTTP methods such as get, post, put, delete, and more. Here is the website where you can look into the documentation of Axios and learn about it. Now I'm going to install Axios using npm. I'm going to open new terminal window. So in order to install Axios, we need npm install Axios. So the Axios is successfully installed, and now we have to import it. So we need to add here import Axios from Axios. Alright, so after that, in order to manage the news data, we have to create a state. As you know, state in React is a built-in object that allows components to create and manage their own data. So I'm going to create new state variable, and it's going to be headline. Then we need an updater function, set headline. It's going to be equal to a new state hook, and we have to insert here a default value, which is going to be null. Now in order to use useStateHook, we have to import it here from React. Right now the useStateHook was automatically imported from React. If you don't see here useState, then please import it manually from React. Alright, so this is the state variable that holds the current value of our headline data. Initially it's set to null. Next we have here set headline function. This is the state setter function that we use to update the headline state. We create the state to hold the main headline news article. Typically, the headline is the most important or latest news article that we want to feature prominently. By storing it in a separate state, we can easily manage and display it independently from the rest of the news articles. Next, we have to create another state variable, and it's going to be news. Then we need setter function, set news. It should be equal to, again, useState, and as the default value I'm going to insert here an empty array. So this is a state variable that holds the current state value of our news data. Initially it's set to an empty array. Then we have set news function. This is the state setter function that we use to update the news state. We create this state to hold the list of news articles that we fetch from the GNews API. Since we will be displaying multiple news articles in a grid, it is practical to store them in an array. As we fetch the news data, we will update this state to reflect the latest news articles. Next, we have to use the useEffect hook to handle the side effect of fetching data when our component mounts. The useEffect hook lets us perform side effects in our function components. In this case, our side effect is fetching news data from the GNews API. So I'm going to create useEffect hook. As you can see, the useEffect hook is automatically imported from React. Again, if you don't see here useEffect, then please import it manually. So we need here a callback function, and then we need here second argument, which is going to be an empty array. So the useEffect hook takes two arguments, a function and a dependency array. The function contains the code we want to run as our side effect, and the dependency array determines when the effect should run. By passing an empty array, we tell React to run this effect only once, after the initial render of the component. This is perfect for our data fetching scenario, as we only need to fetch the news once when the component mounts. Inside the useEffect hook, we have to define an asynchronous function called fetchNews. This function will handle the process of fetching news data from the API. By defining it as an asynchronous function, using the async keyword, we can use await to handle asynchronous operations, making our code cleaner and easier to read. So, as I said, we have to create here a new function with the name fetchNews. Then we need async keyword, followed by the arrow function. So the async keyword before a function declaration indicates that the function will operate asynchronously. This means that it can pause execution to wait for an asynchronous operation to complete without blocking the execution of other code. Next, we have to construct the URL for the API request. Let's go ahead and visit GNews API website. I'm in the documentation part. So we need to search for top headlines endpoint. I'm going to copy this URL from here. Then let's go ahead and create new variable. It's going to be URL. I'm going to open template literal, and then we have to paste here the URL. So this is our URL. Now I'm going to test this URL and see the response that we get from the HTTP request. In order to do that, I'm going to use one of the VS Code packages called Thunder Client. It allows us to make the HTTP requests and get the responses in JSON format. So I recommend to install this package and use it. So here we have the field to insert the URL. I'm going to insert the URL, then click send, and here we go. We got here response in JSON format. So right now it's not in English, but we'll fix that in a minute. So as you can see, we have here articles, which consists of a couple of different articles. Each article has title, description, content, URL, image, the publication date, and so on. So in order to get responses in English, we have to specify here a new parameter, language. So here, after the ampersand, I'm going to insert lang equal to en. Then again, we need ampersand. Now if I click send, then we will get the articles in English. So I'm going to copy the URL and update it in our code because we need articles in English. You can use any language you want. After that, we have to create another variable, and it's going to be response. It's going to be equal to await Axios.get, and as the parameter, I'm going to insert here URL. So this single line of code is crucial in the process of fetching data from an API. Let's break it down step by step, explaining both what it does and why it's important. The await keyword is used to pause the execution of an async function until the promise returned by Axios.get is resolved. Essentially, await makes the function wait for the response from the server before proceeding to the next line of code. This is important because HTTP requests are asynchronous operations that might take some time to complete depending on factors like network speed and server response time. The get method of Axios is used to send a get request to the specified URL. A get request is typically used to retrieve data from a server. The URL variable contains the endpoint to which the request is sent. In this case, it is the URL for fetching top headlines from the GNews API. As for the Axios, you already know what it is. Alright, so now I'm going to run to the console. Response. Then in order to get the result in console, we have to call fetch news function. Let's inspect the page. Actually, we need inspect. So in the console, we have an object which contains the response. We have here data, which includes articles. It is an array, and in that array, we have 10 different articles. Each article has title, content, description, image, publication date, source, URL, and so on. Alright, so we will use this dynamic data and we will replace our hard-coded data in our components. Now I'm going to create another variable, and it's going to be fetched news. It should be equal to response.data.articles. So now, using this variable, we have access on articles, and we are storing this array in that variable. So if we take a look at the response again, you will find here data, which is this object here, and then we have articles. So we have access on that array. This array is stored in this variable. Okay, so now if I change response into fetch news, actually fetch the news, not fetch news, and check again console, then we will get only the array including 10 different articles. Alright, so everything works fine. Now we have to update the headline state variable. We need to display the first article from the array as the headline. So we need to insert here set headline, and we have to insert fetched news. We have to grab the first article from the array, so therefore we need here index number 0. Now if I add here index number 0 and check again the console, we will get only the first article from the array. So now we have to update the JSX. Instead of hard-coded data, we have to use the real-time dynamic one. So let's go ahead and find headline. Here we have it. I'm going to change the image of the headline. Right now we use the image from our images folder. Let's get rid of it. And instead of that image, I'm going to use headline dot image. Then instead of the value of the alt attribute, I'm going to insert here headline dot title, and also we need headline dot title here instead of this lorem ipsum text. Let's insert headline dot title. So now, as you can see, we have here an image and the title. In this case, we have the real-time news image and title. I mean the headline image and title. Now, if I reload the page, then we will get here an error saying that cannot read properties of null. News.jsx with the line number 71. Alright, so now in order to avoid getting this error, first we need to make sure that the headline exists. So we need to use a conditional rendering. Here after new section, I'm going to open curly braces, and we have to check if headline exists or not. We need here AND operator, then open parentheses, and we have to grab the entire headline and paste it here. Now, as you can see, the problem is fixed and we no longer have here the error. Alright, now we have to take care of the news in the news grid. As you know, by default we display 6 articles. The fetch news array provides 10 articles, so we need to grab the portion of an array and display it. I mean 6 articles. As you know, the first article is displayed as the headline, therefore we should grab the first 6 articles after the first article. So I'm going to update news using setNews function. Then I'm going to insert here fetched news followed by the slice method. It will take 2 parameters. The first one is going to be 1 and then 7. So in JavaScript, the slice method is used to extract a section of an array and return it as a new array without modifying the original one. The slice method takes 2 parameters. The first one is start index, the position at which to start extraction, and this position is inclusive. Then we have end index, the position at which to end extraction. This position is exclusive. So we extract a portion of the news array starting from index 1 up to, but not including, index number 7. We start at index 1 because typically index 0 of the news array is used for the headline article. By starting from 1, we exclude the headline from the list of articles that will be displayed in the news grid. We end at index 7 to get a total of 6 articles for the news grid. The end index is exclusive, meaning the element at index 7 is not included in the news array. Therefore, the articles at indexes 1 through 6 are included, which gives us 6 articles. Now, if we run to the console, news, and look at the result, we will get an array with only 6 articles. Alright, so everything works perfectly. Now we should iterate over each element in the news array and execute a function. So let's go down and find news grid. After news grid, I'm going to open curly braces, and we have to insert here news.map then we should insert here the callback function with two parameters, article and index. So here the map function allows us to iterate over each element in the news array. We have here two parameters. Article represents the current element, I mean the news article in the iteration. As for the index, it represents the current index of the element in the news array. Now we have to grab news grid item. Let's grab it and paste it here. I'm going to add one attribute to the div element, and it's going to be key with the value index. Also, we have to change image. We need here article dot image, and then as the value of alt attribute, I'm going to insert here article dot title, and also we need to get rid of this lorem ipsum text and insert here article dot title. If we save, then we will get here news article fetched from the GNews API. It is a real-time data. Actually, we have to get rid of those 5 hard-coded grid items. Let's go ahead and delete these grid items. So now, as you can see, we have here 6 different articles with real-time data. So here we used key prop, which is required by React to uniquely identify each element in the list for efficient updates and rendering. So here we have a div element with a unique key prop. The key prop is required by React to uniquely identify each element in the list for efficient updates and rendering. That's why we use key, and the value is index, which was the second parameter in the callback function of the map helper. Alright, so right now we render the news from the general category, which is hard-coded in our URL. As you can see, the category is general. Now we can change this category. Instead of general, I'm going to insert, let's say, sports, and we will get the news from the sports. Then we can insert here, I don't know, let's say health. So we'll get the news from health category. Now I want to do one more thing. If for some reason the image of the article is not provided, then we should display some default image that will tell us that there is no image available. I have already stored such image in our images folder. We have here no image. It says that image is not available. So I'm going to use this image. First of all, I'm going to import this image from the images folder. Let's duplicate this line of code. Then we need here no image, and also we need to change the name of the image. It's no image, and also we need to change the extension. It is PNG. Alright, so now we have to iterate over each article and check if the article does have the image. If yes, then the article image will be rendered. If not, then we will render our default image. So here we need fetched news followed by the for each method, which allows us to iterate over each item in the array. I'm going to pass here a callback function with the parameter article. And then we need if statement, where we have to check if not article image. If it is true, then we need article.image equal to no image. So if this condition is true, it means that for some reason we don't have the image of the article, and we have to render no image. Now down below in the JSX we have to add no image as the second option. So we need or operator followed by no image, and we need the same thing here in case of the article image in the news grid. So next thing that we have to do is to take it a step further by fetching news articles according to different categories. This will allow our users to view news specific to their interests, whether it is technology, sports, health, or any other category. First, let's start by updating our news.jsx file to fetch news according to categories. We will use again the GNews API for this task, which supports fetching news by categories as well. Now we have to define an array of categories that we will use to fetch news based on different topics. So I'm going to create a new variable, and it's going to be categories. As I said, it's going to be an array, and we have to pass here different categories. Let's start with general, then we have world, the next one is business. Actually, we need here quotes. After business, I'm going to insert here technology. Then we have entertainment. Also, we need here sports, science. Then we have health. And finally, we need nation. All right. So here we have all the categories. Now we need to create a new state variable. It's going to be selected category. Then we need setter function, set selected category. It should be equal to a new state hook, and by default I'm going to insert here general. Alright, so we created a state variable selected category to keep track of the currently selected category. This will allow us to dynamically fetch news articles based on the selected category. Now the next thing that we have to do is to pass this state variable here in the dependency array. We need selected category. By including the selected category state variable in the dependency array, we ensure that the fetch news function is called every time the selected category changes. This allows us to dynamically fetch news articles based on the currently selected category. React will rerun the effect whenever the selected category changes. This ensures that our application is always displaying the most up-to-date news articles for the selected category. So including the state variable selected category in the dependency array prevents the use effect hook from running unnecessarily. Without it, the effect would run on every render, which is not efficient and could lead to performance issues. So if we didn't include selected category in the dependency array, the use effect hook would either run only once or run on every render. In the first case, if the dependency array is empty, the effect would only run once when the component mounts and never again. This means the news articles would not update when the category changes. As for the second case, if we omit the dependency array entirely, the effect would run on every render, which can lead to unnecessary network requests and degrade the performance of our application. Now we have to create a function that will allow us to update the selected category when a user clicks on one of the category links. This function will be responsible for setting the new category and ensuring that the news articles displayed are relevant to the selected category. So I'm going to create a new function here. Let's call it handle category click. It's going to be an arrow function. We have to pass here two parameters. The first one is going to be event object, and then we need category. So the first thing that we need here inside this function is to prevent default behavior. I mean, we need event object dot prevent default. And then we need to update selected category using set selected category function, and we have to insert here category. Okay, so let me explain what's going on here. This function takes two parameters, e and category. The e parameter is an event object which is automatically passed when an event occurs, and category is the specific category that the user clicked on. The first line inside the function is event object followed by prevent default function. This is a crucial step. Normally when we click on a link, the default behavior is for the browser to navigate to the URL specified in the hrefs attribute. Since our category links are not meant to navigate to a new page, but instead update the content dynamically, we use e.preventDefault function to stop this default behavior. The next line is set selected category with the parameter category. Here we are using the set selected category function, which is provided by the useState hook to update the selected category state variable. By passing the category parameter to this function, we are effectively setting the selected category state to the category that the user clicked on. This change in state will trigger a re-render of the component and also refetch the news articles for the newly selected category. In summary, the handle category click function is designed to handle the user's interaction with the category links. It prevents the default navigation behavior of the link, then updates the selected category state with the new category. This ensures that our application responds dynamically to user input and displays the relevant news articles without navigating away from the current page. Now we have to generate the category links dynamically from the categories array. I'm going to update the JSX code so that it would be responsible for rendering each category as a link and handling the click event to update the selected category. So now we have to update the JSX. Let's go ahead and find categories. There we have it. So right after the heading elements, I'm going to open curly braces. Actually, not here, but after these div elements. Let's open curly braces. Then we need categories dot map, and we have to insert here a callback function with the parameter category. So we start by using the map method on the categories array. This method iterates over each element in the array, and for each element, in this case for each category, it returns the JSX code inside the map method's callback function. The JSX code is going to be a link element. Let's grab it and paste it here. Also, we need to get rid of all those links. Let's delete them. So now we have to add to the link elements key prop with the value category, and also we need onClick event handler. I'm going to pass here a callback function with the event object, and then we have to insert handle category click function with event object and category. So inside the map method's callback function, we add an anchor tag for each category. Let's break down each attribute of the A tag. So we have here key prop with the value category. As you already know, the key attribute is essential in React for identifying each element uniquely. Here we are using the category name as the key because each category name is unique. Next we have onClick event handler. So when the link is clicked, the handle category click function is called with the event object E and the current category as arguments. Next we have to display the category name dynamically. So instead of general, we need here category. And also we have to modify the URL. Instead of hard-coded category name, we need here $, then curly braces, and we have to insert selected category, which is a state variable. So as you can see, the category links are generated, in this case dynamically, and if we click them, then we will get proper news articles for each category. Alright, so everything works perfectly. And now we have to add another feature to our application, which is a modal box. This modal box will display detailed information about a news article when the user clicks on a headline or a news grid item. First of all, we will create a news model component, then we will generate hard-coded JSX content, customize and style it, and after that we will make the modal box work dynamically. I mean, we will manage to open it once the user clicks either headline or news article in the news grid. Alright, so let's go ahead and create new component. I'm going to call it news model.jsx, and I'm going to create here a new functional component using RAFCE shortcut. So the functional component is created. Next, I'm going to import this newly created component here in the news.jsx file. We need here import news model from news model, and down below I'm going to render it. So let's find here news content. I'm going to insert here news model component. Alright, so let's go back to the news model.jsx file and create the JSX. I'm going to get rid of this text from here. Then I'm going to add a class name to the development, and it's going to be model overlay. And inside the development, I'm going to create another div. It's going to be model content. It will include a couple of different elements. The first one is going to be span element, which will be a closing button. And I'm going to insert here I element. I mean the font awesome icon. So let's open I element with the classes FA solid, FA X mark. So the icon should be visible, but we don't see it here. Let's check the news.jsx file. Actually, we need here capital N. So now the icon is placed here. It is not quite visible, but it's placed here for sure. Alright, so next let's go back to the news model.jsx file. After X closing button, I'm going to open image. Let's add here class name, model image. Then I'm going to change the value of the alt attribute. It's going to be model image. As for the image itself, I'm going to import here one image from the images folder. Actually, we need here import. Then the name of the image is going to be demo image. Then we need from, exit the current folder, access assets folder. Then we need images, and we have to select demo.jpg. Now I'm going to insert here curly braces and then demo image. Alright, so as you can see, we have here an image. It actually messed up the entire layout, but we will fix that soon. After that, I'm going to insert here H2 heading element. It's going to be model title. And as the title, I'm going to insert here lorem ipsum with 10 words. Then after H2 heading element, we need a couple of different paragraphs. The first one is going to be model source. I'm going to insert here source, The Guardian. After that, let's create another paragraph. It's going to be model date. As the date, I'm going to insert here June 28, then 2024, and we need the time, let's say 3:15 p.m. After this paragraph, we need to create another one, and it's going to be model content text. Let's insert here lorem ipsum text with 35 words. Alright, finally we need here link element, which is going to be a read more button. So we need here class name, read more link, and as the content, let's insert here read more. Alright, so that's it about the JSX content for the news model component. Now I'm going to create a new file in the components folder. It's going to be newsmodel.css. We should customize this component. So let's open newsmodel.css. Actually, at first we need to import this file here. We need the directory. It's going to be newsmodel.css. Actually, we need here capital N. Alright, let's open newsmodel.css file and add here some styles. We need to select first development, which is model overlay. Let's define the position. It's going to be fixed. And then we need property called inset. Let's set it to 0. So when you use inset property, you use 4 different positions at the same time. I mean top, left, right, and bottom positions, and you are setting all of them to 0. Next we need background color. Let's use RGBA, black color, with the opacity 0.7. So as you can see, we have here the overlay with background. Next I'm going to set display to flex, because we are going to place the content in the center. So we need here justify content center, and then align items center. Next I'm going to add z-index property, because we need everything to be placed behind the model. So let's set z-index to the highest value, which is 1000. Okay, that's it about the model overlay. Next we have model content. I'm going to set width to 90%. Then max width is going to be 60 rem. Also we need to define the height. By default I'm going to make it auto, but also we need max height, and it's going to be 100%. Actually not 100, but let's make it 90%. After that I'm going to change the background color. Let's use here color 111214. So as you can see, the background is changed. Besides that, I'm going to add here padding. Let's create some space inside the model and make it 4 rem. Next we need border radius. It's going to be 1 rem. Also I'm going to add box shadow with the value 0, 0, 5 rem, then 4 rem, and the color is going to be RGBA. Let's select this color here and make the opacity 0.5. Alright, after that I'm going to customize the close button. So let's go ahead and select this element. Let's set position to absolute. Then we need position relative for the parent element, which is model content. So the position of the close button is going to be top 1 rem and then right 2 rem. Let's increase the font size, make it 2 rem. Also change the color, make it white. And we need to make cursor pointer. So as you can see, we have here X closing button. After that I'm going to customize the image, which is bigger right now. So let's go ahead and select model image. Let's define width. It's going to be 100%. Then we need height. I'm going to make it auto. And also we need to define max height. It's going to be 30 rem. Okay, so the image became smaller. Now we need to fit the image using object fit cover. Also let's set border radius to 1 rem. And finally I'm going to decrease the opacity. Let's make it 0.5. Alright, so the image looks pretty nice. Next we have to take care of the model title. So let's go ahead and select this element. I'm going to set font family to BBest new E. Actually we need BBest new E sans serif. Next I'm going to set font size to 2 rem. Also we need color to be white. Then let's set letter spacing to 0.1 rem. And finally we need margin at the top side. Let's set it to 2 rem. Alright, so that's it about the model title. Next we have to customize the paragraphs. So let's go ahead and select model source with model title. We need similar styles for those paragraphs. Let's use font family. It's going to be Comforta sans serif. Then the font size is going to be 1.4 rem. Also we need color to be gray, BBB. And finally we need margin top with the value 1 rem. Okay, so actually we need here date, not title. So now the problem is fixed. The paragraphs look pretty nice. Next we have to take care of the third paragraph, which is model content text. I'm going to duplicate this code. Let's get rid of this class name, change date into content text. So we don't need here font family. Then we need here font size to be 1.6 rem. Then I'm going to change color to DDD. Also, let's change the value of the margin top property. It's going to be 2 rem. And then add here line height with the value 2.7 rem. Alright, so the paragraph looks pretty nice. Finally, we have to customize the button, read more link. So let's go ahead and select this element using class name read more link. I'm going to set width to 15 rem. Then we need to change display property to inline block, because link by default is inline element. Then I'm going to change the background, and in this case I'm going to use linear gradient function. We need the direction of the color transition to be to right. As for the colors, I'm going to use here color B88 EFC. As for the second color, it's going to be 6877 F4. Alright, so as you can see, the background of the link element is changed. Next, I'm going to set margin top to 2 rem. Also, let's create some space inside the button using padding. I'm going to set it to 1 rem at the top and bottom sides and 2 rem on the left and right sides. Then I'm going to change the color of the text. It's going to be white. Also, we need to place the text in the center using text align center. Then increase the font size. It's going to be 1.6 rem. Also, I'm going to transform text into uppercase. Then we need border radius. Let's set it to 5 rem. And actually, I think that's it. So the read more link looks pretty nice. I'm going to add one more thing to the button. When we click it, we have to create clicking effect. For that, we need to select read more link with active pseudo class. And we have to make transform translate y with the value 0.1 rem. Now, once we click, then we'll get this nice and cool clicking effect. Alright, so now it's time to make our model functional. We will integrate it into our application so that when a user clicks on a news article, the model will display detailed information about that article. First, we need to add some state variables in our news.jsx file to manage the model's visibility. So let's add here new state variable. It's going to be show model. Then we need an updater function, set show model. It's going to be equal to a new state hook, and the default value is going to be false. Actually, we need here parentheses and then false. Let's create another state variable, and it's going to be selected article. Then we need here set selected article. It should be equal to a new state hook, and the value will be null. So the first state variable, show model, is a Boolean value, and it will control whether the model is visible or not. Initially it's set to false because the model should be hidden when the application loads. As for the second state variable, it will store the details of the article that the user clicked on. Initially it's set to null because no article is selected when the application loads. Next, we need a function that will be called when a user clicks on an article. This function will set the selected article state to the clicked article and set show model to true to display the modal box. So let's create new function, and it's going to be handle article click. We need an arrow function with the parameter article. So as I said, we have to update selected article using set selected function. We need here article, and also we have to display the model, and we have to set show model to true. So this function takes an article as a parameter. When an article is clicked, it sets selected article to the clicked article and show model to true, making the modal box visible. Now we need to pass some props to the news model component. As you already know, in React, props are used to pass data and event handlers from a parent component to a child component. This allows the child component to access and use data or trigger functions defined in the parent element. As you know, we nested here news model component, and now we have to pass here some props. The first prop is going to be show. It's going to be equal to show model. So the show prop is used to control the visibility of the model. When show model is true, the model will be displayed. When it is false, the model will be hidden. Inside the news model component, we will check the value of the show prop to decide whether to render the model or not. This is typically done with a conditional rendering pattern, and we will see it in a minute. Next, we have to pass here another prop, and it's going to be article. It should be equal to selected article. So the article prop contains the details of the news article that we want to display in the model. This might include properties like the article's title, image, content, source, and the publication date. Inside the news model component, we will use the data from the article prop to populate the content of the model. By doing this, the model will dynamically display the details of the article passed to it. Finally, we have to pass here the third prop. It's going to be onClose, and it will include an arrow function. Then we need here set show model to false. The onClose prop is used to handle the action of closing the model. When the user wants to close the model, this function will be called to update the state and hide the model. Inside the news model component, we will call the onClose function when the user interacts with the close button. By doing this, clicking the close button will trigger the onClose function, which in turn sets show model to false in the parent component, and it will make the model hidden. Alright, so after that we need to update the news model component, and we have to use those props. Let's open news model.jsx file. Here we have to pass the props. We need show, then article, and then onClose. Now I'm going to insert here an if statement with the condition not show, and then we have to return null. So the purpose of this code is to control the rendering of the model component. Essentially, it acts as a gatekeeper, determining whether or not the model should be displayed based on the value of show. The condition checks if show is false or if it is a false value, such as undefined or null. If show is true, not show becomes false, and conversely, if show is false, not show becomes true. If the condition is true, return null is executed. In React, returning null from a component's render method means render nothing. In other words, the component does not produce any HTML output, and therefore nothing is displayed on the screen for this component. As you see, the modal box is no longer visible. So now we need to manage displaying it once we click the headline or articles in the news grid. For that, we have to go back to the news.jsx file, and we have to add to the elements the onClick event handlers. Let's go ahead and find headline. So we need to add here onClick event handler, and we have to pass here an arrow function in which we need to call handle article click, and the argument is going to be headline. We need the same thing with the news grid item as well. Let's copy this code and find news grid item. I'm going to add here on-click event handler, but in this case we need article instead of headline. So both of these lines of code are used as event handlers for the on-click event in React. They are assigned to elements such that when the element is clicked, the handle article click function is called with the corresponding argument, headline or article. The first line, I mean this one, is used in the context of rendering a headline article. The arrow function here is used to define what should happen when the div is clicked. Instead of passing the handle article click function directly, which would execute immediately, we wrap it in an arrow function to delay its execution until the click event occurs. Inside the arrow function, we call handle article click and pass headline as the argument. This means that when the div is clicked, handle article click will be called with the headline object. The second line, I mean this line, is used in the context of rendering individual news articles within a grid. Each article in the grid will have this click handler. Similar to the previous example, the arrow function is used to delay the execution of handle article click until the div is clicked. Inside the arrow function, we call handle article click and pass the article as the argument. This ensures that when any div is clicked, handle article click is called with the corresponding article object. Now, if I click, then the model will be displayed. And right now, the X closing button is not working. So if we click any news articles here in the news grid, then again the model will be displayed. Next, we have to manage closing the model once we click the X closing button. As you remember, we passed onClose prop in the news model component. So now we have to go to the news model.jsx file and add here onClick event handler. And we have to pass here onClose prop. Now, if we open Modal Box and click X closing button, it will be closed. Okay, so everything works fine. Now the next thing that we have to do is to change the content of the Modal Box dynamically. We have to display the content of the selected headline or article. At first, I'm going to log in the console the article and see what it looks like. Let's go to the news.jsx file, find the function handle article click, and log to the console article. Let's click, then open developer tools. So we have here the article, we have the title, content, description, image, publication date, and so on. We have to use this data and we have to replace the hard-coded model data with this dynamic data. Let's go back to the news model.jsx file. So to ensure that the model only renders content if an article is provided, we use conditional rendering. So let's open here curly braces and insert here article followed by the and operator. Again, we have to make sure that article exists. Now I'm going to use React fragments, I mean the empty braces. So this checks if article is not null or undefined before attempting to render the article details. This prevents errors that could occur if article is null or undefined. In React, a common scenario is to return multiple elements from a component. However, React components must return a single root element. To overcome this, we can use fragments, which allow us to group multiple elements without adding extra nodes to the DOM. Fragments are denoted using the React fragment or the shorthand syntax, I mean this empty braces here. They are useful for grouping a list of children without creating additional DOM elements like div or span, which can mess up the structure of your HTML and styling. Next, instead of using a hard-coded image source, we dynamically set the image source based on the article prop. So actually we need to place this code down below after span element. Now we have to grab this entire content, including link elements, and paste it inside React fragments. And we have to change this hard-coded data. Let's start with the image. So instead of demo image, I'm going to insert here article.image. Then we have to change the alt attribute. Instead of model image, we have to pass here article.title. So again, we set the source of the image to the image property of the article object, and also we provide an alternative text for the image. Next, we have to set dynamically the title of the model based on the article prop. So instead of this text here, I'm going to add article.title. Then I'm going to change the model source. We need here article.source.name. If we take a look at the article object, you will find here source and then name property. So that's why we used here article.source.name. After that, we have to take care of the date, and I think it's an interesting part. So let's get rid of this hard-coded date. I'm going to open curly braces and insert here new date object. Inside the parentheses, I'm going to insert article.published at. This property includes the date of the publication, and we have to format this date. We need here method called toLocalString, and inside the parentheses we have to insert two arguments. The first one is going to be EN/US. As for the second argument, it's going to be an object where we have to pass the following properties. We need month with the value short. Then we need day, and the value is going to be 2-digit. Next we will have year. The value is going to be numeric. Next we will have hour with the value 2-digit. And finally we will have here minute with the value 2-digit. Let's check the results and then I will explain everything. So as you can see, the data is changed. I mean, we have here the real-time data of the article. The image is changed. We have the title, also the source, and the date. So here, new date creates a new date object using the article.published at string. This converts the string into a date object that JavaScript can manipulate. toLocalString is a method on the date object that converts the date into a string, formatted according to the specified locale and options. Next we have first argument EN/US. It is the local parameter specifying that the date should be formatted according to US English conventions. This object specifies the formatting options for the local string method. Next we have month with the value short. This option formats the month as a short abbreviation, for example Jan for January. Next we have day, 2-digit. This option formats the day as a 2-digit number, for example 01 for the first day of the month. Next we have year with the value numeric. This option formats the year as a numeric value, for example 2024. Then we have hour, 2-digit. This option formats the hour as a 2-digit number, for example 03 for 3 p.m. And finally we have here minute. This option formats the minute as a 2-digit number, for example 03 for 3 minutes past the hour. Alright, so that's the way how we format the date. Next we have paragraph with the lorem ipsum dummy text. Let's get rid of this text and insert here article.content. So as you can see, the content is changed. And finally we have to customize the read more link. Instead of this pound sign, we have to insert here article.url. Then I'm going to add here an attribute called target, which should be equal to _blank. Also we need here another attribute called rel. It should be equal to no opener, no referrer. Alright, so the value of the href attribute article.url is the hyperlink reference to the URL property of the article object. Next we have target blank. This opens the link in a new tab. As for the rel attribute, this is a security feature that prevents the new page from accessing the window.opener property and ensures that the new page runs in a separate process. So if I click read more link, then we will go to the link of the article and we will be able to read the full article. Okay, so everything works perfectly, and with the application, I mean the features and the functionality, we are done. Now the only thing that we have to do is to make it responsive for the different screen sizes and devices. Actually, we are missing here the shadow effect. As you can see, we have here nice and cool shadow. So let's open news.css file and here add box shadow with the values 0, 2 RAM, 3 RAM, and the color is going to be RGBA with the opacity 0.5. So as you can see, we have here nice and cool shadow effect. Alright, so now, as I said, we have to make our project responsive. I'm going to maximize the window. Let's place the browser and the editor side by side like so. Next I'm going to inspect the page and switch to the responsive mode. So we need to make project responsive to different desktop screens, also tablets and mobile screens. I have prepared here different screen sizes which are popular nowadays. So let's go ahead and check the project on different screen sizes. So as you can see, the navigation links and also news grid items are messed up. So the first breakpoint is going to be 1400 pixels. I'm going to create CSS media query. Let's specify max width, make it 1400 pixels. So first of all, I'm going to decrease the font size of the logo. We need here color braces. Let's select the logo and set its font size to 3.5 round. Next I'm going to take care of the categories. So let's go ahead and select categories. I'm going to decrease the gap between the nav links. Let's set row gap to 2 RAM. So as you can see, the nav links look pretty nice. Next we have to take care of the news grid. First of all, I'm going to select news section and I'm going to add to it overflow hidden. Then I'm going to select news grid and I'm going to change the grid layout. So right now we have here 3 columns and 2 rows, and I'm going to change it into 2 columns and 3 rows. And also we should make the news grid scrollable. So I'm going to add here grid template columns. We need a repeat function. So we need 2 columns and the size is going to be 1 fractional unit. Let's duplicate this line of code, change columns into rows. We need 3 rows and the size will be 1 fractional unit. And also, as I said, we have to make the news grid scrollable. We need overflow y with the value scroll. So as you can see, now the news grid is scrollable, and I think it would be better if we hide the scroll bar at all. So for that we have to add here news grid followed by WebKit scroll bar, and we have to make it hidden using display none. Okay, so now we no longer have here the scroll bar and also the news grid is scrollable. Okay, so everything works perfectly. the model looks good. Next we have to find another breakpoint. Let's check other desktop screens. So everything looks pretty nice. Next we have tablet, and I think we have to make some changes on tablet. So let's go ahead and create new CSS media query. Let's specify max width as 900 pixels. So on this breakpoint, I'm going to change the layout. Right now the navbar and the news section are placed side by side horizontally in a row. We have to change it and we have to place them vertically in a column. So let's go ahead and select news content. We need to change flex direction. Let's set it to column. Then we need to change the width. It's going to be 100%. Also, let's set row gap to 2 rem. So as you can see, now the navbar and the news section are placed vertically in a column. Let's go ahead and select navbar. We need to change the direction of the flex. Right now it is set to column and we have to make it row. Next we need justify content, center. Also we need to set width to 100%. Then let's set height to 15 rem. And finally we have to get rid of row gap. Let's set it to 0. Alright, now we have to take care of the categories, I mean the navigation links. So let's go ahead and select categories. I'm going to change the flex direction. Let's make it row. Then we need to place the links on different lines. Therefore we need here flex wrap with the value wrap. And finally let's use here justify content center. Alright, so now we have to create some space between the nav links. So let's go ahead and select nav link. Let's set margin right to 2 rem. Alright, so now we have to place categories, I mean the heading and the nav links vertically in a column. So we can add here flex wrap with the value wrap. Alright, so that's it about the navbar. Next we have to take care of the news section. Let's select news section and set width to 100%. Alright, so that's it. Everything looks pretty nice. Next I'm going to check the project on tablet 2. So it looks good. And now we have to move on and customize the project for mobile screen sizes. So we have to create a new breakpoint, but before that I'm going to open index.css file and decrease the font size of the HTML element. It will make all the elements smaller. So let's go ahead and create new media query with max width of 500 pixels. I'm going to select HTML and then let's change the font size. Let's make it 55%. So as you can see, all the elements became smaller. Now I'm going to go to the news.css file and create new CSS media query. We need max width to be 500 pixels. Let's select navbar and set its height to 20 rem. So as you can see, now the navbar looks pretty nice. Next I'm going to change the grid layout of the articles. So I'm going to select news grid. Let's set grid template columns to repeat. Then we need here 1 and the size is going to be 1 fractional unit. Let's duplicate this line of code. We need here rows. It's going to be 6 and the size will be 1 fractional unit. Alright, so now the news grid looks pretty nice. Next I'm going to make the headline title a little bit smaller. So let's go ahead and select headline title. Let's set its font size to 2 RAM. Alright, so now everything looks good. I'm going to check mobile 2. Actually, we need to take care of the model, but before that I'm going to style the footer. So let's add here footer. I'm going to increase the minimum height. Let's set it to 8 RAM. Then I'm going to change the flex direction. Let's make it column. We need justify content center, and we need little gap. Using row gap 1 RAM. So now as you can see, the footer looks pretty nice. Alright, so next I'm going to open news model.css file and create. Actually, I'm going to grab this media query. Let's insert it here. Get rid of this code. So I'm going to select model content and I'm going to set width to 80%. So now the model looks pretty nice. Alright, so let's check the last breakpoint. I mean the last mobile screen size. I'm going to make here slight changes. Actually, let's open index.css file and duplicate this code. We need here max width 400 pixels. As for the font size of the HTML element, I'm going to make it 45%. Okay, so as you can see, now everything looks good. Alright, so that's it for the project. We are done. That wraps up our news app project. Let's go ahead and recap what we have done in this project. We covered setting up our project with Vite, fetching and displaying news articles using the GNews API, and creating a dynamic and interactive user experience with React. This was just a taste of what you can do with React, and I hope you found it informative and exciting. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon so you don't miss any future tutorials. I'd also love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to leave a comment below. Remember, if you want to dive deeper and build a more comprehensive version of this application, check out my Udemy course, Master React, Build Real-World React Project. Don't forget to take advantage of the special discounts available in the description. $10 for the next 5 days, $13 for the next 31 days, and a referral link for ongoing discounts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.